What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some news as promised. I was going to give you the recap of what Eddie Hearn had to say after the official announcement of Deontay Wilder rejecting the dazn deal, the three-fight dazn deal that was offered to him Tuesday. Okay, and this is it. And Eddie Hearn was, of course, disappointed, exhausted. Actually, his reply was to Shelly Finkel and not necessarily the deal. Shelly Finkel did make some remarks that have you guys seen in my previous videos. I just really uploaded those, so check those out. But it was explaining in detail how Shelly Finkel was actually trying to end, or his plans is to end the Matchroom empire and destroy Eddie Hearn. And that was his agenda on the whole thing. And Eddie Hearn had this to say, like, hey, I dare you. If you're going to do something, if you can do it, if you feel that Deontay Wilder can knock out Anthony Joshua, make the fucking fight happen. Let's make it happen. If you think that will crumble Matchroom and destroy Eddie Hearn from existence, why don't you put your boy up there and put your money where your mouth is and make this fight happen so that can happen? Because obviously this is some personal shit. This has nothing to do with the fighters. This has everything to do with the networks and promotional companies. It's two wars going. The negotiations between two networks or two promotional companies. That's the war going. That's the Cold War. That's always how it's been. It's kind of like BT and Sky Sports. But it's also happening with Shelly Finkel, which is the manager of Deontay Wilder, and Eddie Hearn, which is the promoter of Anthony Joshua. Okay, so we have these two guys going neck and neck at each other. And I believe at this point, from listening to Eddie Hearn and listening to Shelly Finkel and listening to his remarks and listening to both of these guys' remarks, I think it's more about a personal vengeance or personal grudge between these two guys. Shelly Finkel, he had that to say about Eddie Hearn, and Eddie Hearn had that to say about him. These guys went back and forth. Eddie Hearn went on to say that it's sad for the sport because we're getting robbed. It's about the fighters. It's always been about the fighters. It's supposed to be who wants the best. He wants his fighter. He promotes his fighter, and he promotes his fighter to do certain particular things. Now, Deontay Wilder, like he said, that's supposed to be a free agent. That's supposed to have his own decision, his own boss. He has an advisor, and his advisor is advising him to stay with Showtime. Now, the funny thing about it is you scream that I'm free, that I'm out of prison, so to speak, right? And then you claim to everyone that would listen that, hey, I'm free, I'm my own person. Now I'm going to go back to the fuck where I came from. That makes no sense to me at all, me hearing that. But that's what he said, and that's what went on. However, he did go in detail with Al Haymon in the meeting with John Skipper and how that went. And he said that it was a mediocre meeting. It wasn't like Shelly Finkel explained it. Shelly Finkel was like, oh, well, that was a good meeting. He was very positive. He was very professional. So Eddie Hearn explained it. Well, it was an okay meeting. John Skipper was like the remediator in that, and he basically pitched him what was going on. And the thing is, they were more concerned with what Joshua was getting besides what was being offered. That's what Eddie Hearn was explaining in this interview. Of course, I'll leave it below, let you guys check it out. It's about 40 freaking minutes. So it took me a time to, counterpunch through it, read it, and, hear the points, the key points in this video. And he had this to say about Al Haymon, because they were there present in this meeting. He said that Al Haymon is supposed to be an advisor, so that's the person, or even a manager with Shelly Finkel. These two guys that are on the team of Wilder is supposed to do what's best for Wilder, not support the network. Again, it goes back to this network war, this Cold War bullshit that we're dealing with Shelly Finkel and Al Haymon not trying to allow Deontay Wilder leverage or passage to go to another network or platform. Okay, and that's what it is. And Eddie, I will agree with Eddie in that regard. Why would you worry about if you're an advisor or if you're a manager? Why would you be trying to keep a fighter where he is for a pay cut? Because that's basically what it is. Okay, that's why, of course, Eddie Hearn was like, well, it has to that deal with Brazil has to be at least $20 million. He can't be that much of an idiot. That's what Eddie Hearn says. I beg to differ. Oh, I beg to differ. Because he won't state what it is, we'll never know what it is. You know what I mean? And that's the whole problem. You publicize everything else, and the deal that's made public has more reverence on it. More credibility than a deal that's in silence and kept in the dark. That's shady to me. It's secrets behind that deal that you can't discuss. That amount you can't display. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem with that. Okay, so I have to say that. So I don't think he had $20 million at all. So I think that Eddie Hearn, gave the benefit of the doubt or whatever. But again, Al Haymon's supposed to be his advisor, so he should advise him to do the best possible thing for him, not for his deal with Fox and Showtime. And that's what I believe that's happening. He knows he has a pony in the show because he has a big deal with Fox and Showtime. And if he could have the heavyweight champion, the only American heavyweight champion on board, that's going to generate more money for him and strengthen his deal and his relationship with Showtime and Fox. Okay, so that's not an advisor at that point. That's a promoter. Okay, that's what promoters do. And that's exactly what Eddie Hearn said in this video. And it made a lot of sense. See, when you're dealing with an advisor, he's just that person that like, hey, man, what's best for you would be to take that fucking money. Now what's best for me as an advisor, because I got a deal over here, I think you should stay with us. So the loyalty deal, should be more about common sense than loyalty, because that's one of those things where, I don't understand. I guess that's a pride thing at the end of the day. And Eddie went on to say that this particular fight should happen, and they're going to keep trying to make that fight happen, which is surprising because I'm like, okay, after John Skipper, I'm like, okay, they don't like you. So why would you still be trying to make a deal with them? Be counterpunching it. Be honest. I mean, why would you still be trying to make this deal happen, especially when you got your point across? Because the whole thing is, this whole argument, this was all an argument about who was ducking who wanted what, and then, but it really did, it was about money, then it was about where it's going to be, the venue, then it was about, who's the A side and B side. So a lot of things got lost in translation, and the truth was covered up. But the simple truth is, this fight is not trying to get made on the side of Wilder's team, period. So let's just be real about it. Let's call a spade a spade. You know what I mean? Because you can't claim to want the fight in one face, one name. And Eddie Hearn went on to say those contradictions also. The things that he said, one face, one name, and Shelly Finkel wants that. You can't want that with the money that was offered. And the thing is, he explained Joshua's side. Joshua was lining up to make he was lining up to be offered the amount of certain amount of money that they were going to offer him. So for someone to want to know what they make, therefore if they don't know what they make, they're going to stop. Well, that means that nothing is ever good enough for you. You know what I'm saying? So it sounds like a buyout to me. It sounds like, okay, I want enough, or I want to know exactly how much, because then they would have to compare that to Joshua's by default. But we've already went through that. But again, this is what Eddie Hearn was reiterating, and this is something that I already said before even looking at the interview, and how I felt about it, because I'm actually loading the volume 2 right now for this video, for that particular video, an interview about Shelly and Deontay. But surprisingly, Eddie wants that fight. he wants to do that for Anthony, I guess. And he said, and now this is what he said. He said something very important, and I'm going to close with this. He said Anthony Joshua is my boss, okay? Not the other way around. It's not like that with Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder has a boss, and his name is Al Haymon. Shelly Finkel is his assistant. I call him his assistant, his pimp. You know what I mean? But the big man upstairs is Al Haymon. And what Al Haymon says, that's what Deontay Wilder's going to do. Look at Errol Spence for an example. Just take that brother for an example. No disrespect to Errol Spence, but he's supposed to be his own boss. He's supposed to have his own promotional company called Man Down Promotions. Now ask yourself this question. Can Errol Spence do what he really wants to do? Really? No, he cannot. Because if that was the case, if he could do what he wanted to do, Floyd Mayweather, which is AKA Jesus, is to Al Haymon God, wouldn't have said that, no, we're not going to make the Spence Crawford fight right now and has to build. So do you think Floyd would have said something like that if it wasn't true? One thing Floyd is, he when it comes to him showing his dominance and power, oh, he'll do that. He'll tell you how many watches he has. He'll tell you how many houses he has. He'll tell you how much money he makes. And he can tell you how powerful he is. So in the grand scheme of things, no, Errol Spence is in the same boat, okay? He does not have a promoter, but he has something worse than a promoter. He has an owner, and his name is Al Haymon, okay? So to answer the question about Deontay Wilder, he's in the same situation as Errol Spence. And I just used them as an example. But those guys can't go far. Those guys can't make their own decisions. So the decisions was made, from the big man, the owner, Al Haymon. So, but again, that's me wrapping it up with Eddie Hearn. He's going to keep trying. You guys tell me, should he keep trying? Should he keep trying to make this fight happen? Now, I will add that he did say at the end of this video that that deal could be after he beats Brazil. So, so if that does happen, that just shows, and he does beat Brazil, that it shows he was concerned about defeating Brazil in order to make this deal, this 2-fight deal with Anthony Joshua. Okay. But we'll see what happens, because Shelly, of course, was talking about, getting back with, Steven Espinosa, and I have to counterpunch him. So anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Eddie Hearn's interview. I'll leave the link below. Let you guys check it out. Give me your thoughts. Please subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. And you guys been counterpunched. Peace.